I'm glad you're here today. Please make yourself comfortable. We need to have a real, honest conversation about your heart health, not the kind of rushed 5-minute chat you might get in a typical clinic, but a deep dive into what is actually happening inside your body. I've spent over 2 decades as a surgeon, literally holding human hearts in my hands and cutting into diseased arteries. I've seen what happens when plaque turns a flexible, life giving vessel into something that feels more like a concrete pipe. I'm telling you this because there is so much misinformation out there that is quite frankly dangerous. People talk about lemon water dissolving plaque or apple cider vinegar cleaning your system as if your arteries were kitchen drains. They aren't. You can't just pour a detox down your throat and expect it to clear out years of biological buildup. To fix the problem, we have to look at the actual pathology, and that's what I want to explain to you today. Most people think of plaque as just grease that gets stuck to the walls of the artery because you ate too much cheeseburger. That's not what I see when I'm in the operating room. Plaque is actually an active, living immune response. It's a war zone. It starts when the very thin, delicate lining of your arteries, the endothelium, gets damaged by things like high blood sugar, smoking, or chronic stress. When that lining gets sticky, LDL cholesterol particles slip underneath it. But the cholesterol itself isn't the villain yet. It only becomes a problem when it oxidizes or rusts. Your immune system sees this rusted cholesterol as a foreign invader, like a virus or bacteria, and it sends in white blood cells called macrophages to eat it. These cells gobble up so much oxidized cholesterol that they become bloated and die, turning into what we call foam cells. These foam cells are the foundation of plaque. They sit there, inflamed and dying, causing your artery wall to bulge and eventually harden. If we want to reverse this, we have to talk about reverse cholesterol transport. Think of it as a biological eject button. Your body actually has a way to pull that trapped cholesterol out of the foam cells and send it back to the liver to be disposed of. This process is driven by HDL, often called good cholesterol. But for many of my patients, this system is broken or stalled. The meal I'm going to describe to you today isn't just healthy food. It is a targeted, scientific intervention designed to flip that switch back on. It's about using specific compounds to tell those immune cells to spit out the fat and to stop the calcium from turning your vessels into bone. This is cellular biology in action, and it's how we move from simply managing disease to actually reversing it. I remember a patient of mine named Thomas. He was in his late 60s, felt perfectly fine, but his coronary calcium score, a test that measures how much bone or calcium is in your heart's pipes, was over 800. That's a very dangerous neighborhood to live in. He was doing everything the standard books told him to do. He was on a high-dose statin and eating a low-fat diet. Yet, a year later, his score had actually gone up. He was terrified. I told him he had to stop following the outdated low-fat dogma because low-fat diets often crash your HDL, which is the very vehicle you need to haul the trash out of your arteries. I put him on the protocol I'm about to give you, and 18 months later, for the first time in his life, his calcium score actually started to drop. His arteries were finally healing because we stopped fighting the body and started giving it the specific tools it needed to repair the endothelium. The first part of this meal is about gas, specifically nitric oxide. Your arteries need a gas called nitric oxide to stay open and slippery. Without it, They constrict and become sticky for plaque. To get this, you need nitrates from greens like arugula or beets. But here is the catch that almost no one tells you. You have the bacteria in your mouth to thank for this. When you eat arugula, the nitrate is absorbed, secreted into your saliva, and then bacteria on your tongue converted into nitrite, which then becomes nitric oxide in your blood. If you use antiseptic mouthwash, you kill those good bacteria, and you break your heart's ability to protect itself. So, part one of this meal is a massive base of raw arugula. It's your nitrate donor. It's the spark that reopens the road for blood flow. Next, we have to talk about the eject button itself. To activate the protein that pumps cholesterol out of those foam cells, you need a compound called oleocanthal. You find this in very specific, high phenolic, extra virgin olive oil. It's the stuff that makes the back of your throat tingle or sting when you swallow it. That sting is the medicine. In a massive study of over 7,000 people, those who used about 4 tablespoons of high-quality olive oil a day had a 30% lower risk of heart attacks and strokes compared to those on a low-fat diet. This is why I tell my patients to ignore the low-fat labels. We aren't just eating fat. We are eating a signal that tells your cells to clear out the plaque. You're going to pour that peppery oil right over your arugula. It's not a garnish. It's the primary driver of reverse cholesterol transport. But we can't ignore the concrete part of the problem, the calcium. When plaque sits there long enough, your body tries to scab it over with calcium, making the artery hard. To stop this, you need vitamin K2, specifically the form called MK7. Its job is to act like a traffic cop, directing calcium into your bones and teeth and pulling it out of your heart. Most people are deficient because we don't eat enough fermented foods. The gold standard is a Japanese dish called natto, though I know many of my patients struggle with the taste. If you can't do natto, a very aged Gouda cheese is a great source, or a high-quality MK7 supplement. This is the only nutrient we've seen that can actually help stabilize and potentially reduce that calcium score. It makes the pipes flexible again. The final piece of this puzzle is the pomegranate. We need to stop the rusting or oxidation of LDL in the first place. Pomegranates contain punicalagins, which are incredibly powerful antioxidants that actually bind to the LDL particles themselves, creating a protective shield. This prevents the immune system from getting angry and attacking them. Clinical trials have shown that drinking real pomegranate juice or eating the seeds can actually reduce the thickness of the carotid artery wall over time. I want you to take a full cup of those fresh pomegranate seeds and toss them right onto that arugula and olive oil salad. You're creating a meal that hits every single pathway: nitric oxide for flow, oleocanthal for cholesterol removal, K2 for calcium management, and pomegranates for oxidation protection. I know what you might be thinking, that this sounds like a lot of fat, or that it's too simple to work. But remember, the simple advice of the last 40 years hasn't worked. We've been told to eat more bread and less fat, and yet heart disease is still our biggest killer. This protocol is about moving away from filler foods and focusing on bioactive compounds that talk to your genes. It's not a diet you do for a week. It's a lifestyle you adopt because you understand the biology. You eat this meal once a day, every day. You treat it like a prescription. You source the best olive oil you can find. You skip the mouthwash. and you let your body's natural healing systems take over. I've seen it work in the lab, I've seen it work in my patients, and I've seen it work in the data. You have the power to change the environment inside your own chest.